Well, we have some breaking news because just a short while ago, we learned that the SNAP benefits must go out. A judge has ruled in favor of those states and the District of Columbia that were suing the Trump administration. Look at this. It says SNAP benefits must continue despite shutdown. Judge tells Trump administration. That means more than 42 million Americans are going to be receiving some benefits. But here's where things get tricky. The key word here is some benefits. We do not know if the Trump administration is going to listen to what the judge just ruled and then they're going to go and get all the money, which I believe is like $9.2 billion is needed in order to fund the SNAP benefits for 42 million Americans. Or are they only going to use the emergency funds, those contingency funds? That's the big question. But I want to play a couple clips for you. Listen to this, because again, right now, it's unclear about what the Trump administration is trying to do. But at the same time, President Trump has gone nuclear and he's threatening to actually get rid of the filibuster, which could mean the federal government could open up. But there's many Republicans that are pushing back against that as well. But listen to this, and we'll jump right into more of the updates in just a moment.
Judge Talwani in Massachusetts issued her ruling today. And it really comes down to those contingency funds in the Department of Agriculture. So obviously we know there's a government shutdown and Congress can pass a spending bill, a continuing resolution, standalone legislation related to these SNAP benefits. But this isn't politics, this is the law. And approximately half the states in the District of Columbia, they filed a lawsuit challenging the Department of Agriculture's refusal to release these contingency funds. Now
I do want to jump in here really quick before we listen to the last about 30 seconds of this clip, but the USDA has made it very clear that these are contingency funds. So the only way contingency funds are able to work is if the underlying funding is flowing. But right now, those contingency funds are not essentially contingency funds. These are the only funds available. So what they're saying is that by law, we cannot use the contingency funds unless the underlying funding has been flowing, which right now the federal government is not. There's no money appropriated for the USDA, and that's where they're standing. So we'll see. But let's keep listening to this.
Talking about more than $5 billion. Seems like a lot of money, but the SNAP program costs the department approximately $8.5 to $9 billion a month. So this will only get us through a few weeks, but the Department of Agriculture's position has been that these contingency funds can only be used for an emergency. And they describe that emergency to be a natural disaster, not something political like a government shutdown.
Okay. I'm going to play another clip for you in a second, but here's the reason why this is such a big ruling. Right now, there's about $5 billion in contingency funds that is sitting there that the USDA could use. But legally, are they allowed to? This judge says yes. Now, here's where things get tricky. If you watch the video that I did earlier on this morning, I said that certain states pay out earlier than others. And it depends on either the last digit of your case number. It depends on your social security number. There's so many different variables here. But certain states pay out on the 1st of the month. Some pay out between the 4th and the 10th. Others pay out between the 3rd and the 23rd. Some pay out all the way up to the 25th. The interesting part about this, and I think Texas is anywhere from the 1st to the 28th of the month. So again, wide range there. Some are speculating that the federal government may disperse the funds to these states based off of a first come, first served basis. Now you're probably thinking, well, okay, but I don't get paid until the 20th. I don't get my benefits until the 23rd. So if it's on a first come, first served basis, I may be screwed because I'm receiving my benefits towards the end of the month. Here's the reason why it's a very tricky situation. Some believe that the federal government will reopen within the next 1 to 2 weeks. Okay? So if it reopens it within the next 1 to 2 weeks and we're already on a first come, first served basis, then it really doesn't matter who gets their money today or technically tomorrow, or who gets their money in 14 days, because everyone's going to get it. But what if the government doesn't reopen? That's the problem there, is we could use these contingency funds, they would go away, but then what happens in the next 2.5 weeks when all this money has been used and now we have nothing? That's the big question mark. I want to play another clip for you. Listen to this.
She says the motion remains under advisement. She's not making a decision up or down yet, but by Monday, the defendants, meaning the Trump administration and specifically the USDA, has to advise her, and I'm now reading from the order, whether they will authorize at least reduced SNAP benefits for November, and if so, their timeline for determining whether to authorize only reduced SNAP benefits using the contingency funds, or whether they will authorize full SNAP benefits using both those contingency funds and additional available funds taken from, I believe, imports and the taxes on imports that come in.
Okay. So the Trump administration has until Monday. I'm saying the Trump administration, in this order from the judge, it says the defendant, which again, she's going off the ruling because the Trump administration was sued by 24 states plus the District of Columbia. So what we are now hearing is that the Trump administration has until Monday to decide, are we going to issue just a reduced benefit for the entire month of November, or are we going to issue the full benefit and use some of the funding from imports and taxes there? Again, this is essentially the tariff rebate checks that many were saying is going to come out. So what's interesting about this right now is that this is pretty much forcing the hand of the federal government. But here's where things get very interesting. Listen to what President Trump is calling for. President Trump calls for the end of the Senate filibuster to break the funding stalemate. The filibuster is 60 votes. This has been in place for some time, but what President Trump is asking for is for the Senate to agree, let's get rid of the filibuster, meaning any legislation would only need a simple majority of 51 votes. There's 100 members in the Senate. It would only need 51 votes to pass, not the 60 which it currently stands. That's the problem that everyone faces right now, because Republicans have 53 seats in the Senate. Democrats have 47. There's not 60 votes there. Even so, right now we're seeing 52 Republicans and 1 Democrat vote in favor of the Republican bill, and then the 46 Democrats and 1 Republican are voting no, which still means it's 53 yeses to 47 noes, which is why we are still in a government shutdown. But here's the problem. Republicans are quickly pushing back on Trump's call to nix the filibuster. Both Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Speaker Mike Johnson said they did not like the idea. They said that today, that they don't believe that is a good move, because even though that gives Republicans all the power in the world right now and during the current Congress, the problem is Congress it can change every 2 years. The president is elected for 4 years. The problem is Congress, there's a midterm election this next year. In 2026, we have a midterm election, meaning we could see the Senate flipped to Democrats. And if that does, we got a Republican president, a Republican House, and a Democratic Senate, which only needs 51 votes to pass any legislation. That's the issue. That's where some say this is a nuclear option that they are not willing to touch. So, at this point, here's where we're at. The Trump administration has this weekend to determine, do they want to send out a reduced benefit to millions of Americans for SNAP, or do they want to send out the full benefit? The problem here is that money is still sitting, has to be transferred, and then it could be an additional 10 days before that money actually hits your SNAP EBT card. With that said, we could see more delays after Monday as well. So, good news is there's a ruling that has been put out there just a short while ago. But where do we go from here? That's the big question. So just want to share that with you because I know a lot of people are extremely concerned. What's happening with their SNAP benefits, and are they going to receive them tomorrow? As of right now, the answer is no, but the judge rules in favor of all those people suing, or all those states suing the Trump administration, meaning your benefits will be coming, but it's a matter of time. So if you have any questions, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. But as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.